You're staring at your screen. Your thumb swipes up. A funny video plays. Swipe. A cake recipe. Swipe. Two strangers arguing. Swipe. Your brain has entered autopilot, responding to light and motion without a specific goal. This behavior differs from doom scrolling, where you actively hunt for negative news or validation through rage bait. This state is passive. It is a purposeless habit where the mind zones out, while the thumb keeps moving through an infinite algorithm-fed void. In 2016, the antivirus company McAfee coined the term zombie scrolling syndrome in a blog post about family safety. What began as a pop psychology label has since evolved into a specific area of clinical study regarding passive social media use and its effect on the nervous system. Apps use infinite scroll and variable rewards to ensure the anticipation of the next swipe releases more dopamine than the content itself. This engineering creates a digital loop that extracts your time and mental energy before you realize an hour has passed. To understand the trap, look at the interface itself. Features like infinite scroll and autoplay deliberately remove natural stopping cues, like the end of a page. Mechanics like pull to refresh mimic a slot machine, turning your feed into a source of unpredictable rewards. This graph illustrates the ludic loop, a psychological state where repeated actions are driven by variable dopamine hits. Because the reward is unpredictable, the brain stays hooked. Over time, you build a neurological tolerance, requiring more scrolling to achieve the same baseline level of satisfaction. A 2024 study of over 1,300 adults shows 41% of social media time is mindless. This directly correlates with goal conflict, where users feel the phone blocks real-life objectives, leading to a measurable drop in next-day well-being. Platforms capitalize on brief moments of boredom or stress. By providing a frictionless escape, the interface design ensures that the easiest response to any discomfort is to remain in the autopilot loop. This design creates a cycle of social snacking. You receive a brief hit of dopamine from seeing a glimpse of someone else's life, but this passive consumption lacks the depth or reciprocity of a real conversation. This flowchart tracks the findings from a 9-year longitudinal study by Baylor University and a 2024 European policy brief. They found that passive scrolling for more than 2 hours a day creates a bidirectional loop. Lonely people scroll more to cope, but that scrolling replaces the face-to-face time needed to alleviate loneliness, resulting in deeper isolation. The cycle is particularly damaging for developing brains. By using the phone to avoid the awkwardness of real-world interactions, adolescents miss the practice required to read social cues and build empathy. Research indicates this rewired socialization leads to higher levels of social anxiety and emotional disconnection. The tool marketed to bring us together is instead providing a shallow substitute that erodes the actual skills required to maintain human connection. On average, social media users spend over 2 hours a day in these feeds, which adds up to more than an entire month per year. When billions of people surrender that much time to a passive state, the individual habit becomes a societal shift. This mass surrender of focus fuels the attention economy, where platforms monetize fragmented attention spans. Since 2004, the average attention span on a screen has plummeted from 2.5 minutes to just 47 seconds, training the brain for constant switching and shallow novelty. This decline in focus has measurable consequences for cognitive resilience. 2025 research links high levels of mindless scrolling to increased susceptibility to misinformation and a reduced capacity for the complex problem-solving required in civic life. Oxford University marked this cultural erosion by naming brain rot its 2024 Word of the Year. When a society loses its ability for sustained focus and deep thinking, it becomes less creative and more fragile. What begins as a personal habit scales into a population-level decline in the human capital required to solve major challenges. Escaping the loop requires friction. Deliberate steps break the autopilot. Switch to grayscale mode, set daily app timers, or just remove the apps. These force you to pause and decide if you actually want to scroll or if you are simply reacting to a trigger. These individual changes are being reinforced by a broader culture shift. Social psychologist Jonathan Haidt has proposed a framework of 4 norms to protect the next generation. No smartphones before high school, no social media before 16, phone-free schools, and more unsupervised real-world play. This physical friction is already proving effective. Schools that have implemented full phone bans report significant improvements in student focus and grades, while 2025 research from Western University links these phone-free environments to lower levels of youth anxiety. Since we cannot out-willpower an algorithm designed to hook us, we must rebuild physical and cultural boundaries that prioritize real-world presence over digital consumption. This shift is now reaching the highest levels of government. Public health officials, including the U.S. Surgeon General, are now framing addictive platform design not as a personal choice, but as a public health crisis that requires systemic intervention. New York's Safe for Kids Act represents the first wave of this regulation. The law mandates chronological feeds for minors, eliminating personalized algorithms, and bans nighttime notifications for users under 18, unless parents opt in. Global momentum is growing, with Australia moving toward a full ban on social media for children under 16. These laws target the features that exploit developing brains, forcing platforms to include stopping cues and age verification as standard safety measures. The 2025-2026 wave of regulation and cultural change shows that the digital zombie state is an addressable flaw. By combining personal habit shifts with systemic oversight, we are reclaiming our attention from the algorithms.